Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. I am here live in the Taro's podcast studio. I'm very, very excited, as always, to introduce my next guest. I would love to welcome Josh McCartney. Not only is he a TEDx speaker host, but he is a public speaking coach. So today, welcome Josh to the Taro's podcast. Welcome, Josh, and thank you so much for agreeing to come on to the Taro's podcast today. I'm so excited to be able to interview you. Obviously, public speaking and confidence has been a massive part of my growth journey. And to be able to have you on and interview you and to be able to help other people is amazing. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to have the call.
Yay!
Not call, conversation.
Conversation. So first of all, before I get into my questions and everything, what I would really like to do is for you to introduce yourself and tell everybody about your journey and how you've come to being, teaching people how to speak publicly, overcome these things, because I know that hasn't always been the way, has it?
Absolutely not. So I was actually that really shy, overweight kid that didn't really have any friends when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So if you were to tell me now, back then, that I'd be teaching people to do public speaking, I probably would have, slapped you in the face because I wouldn't believe you. So for me, speaking was a natural progression, and it's an accumulation of all the skills that I went through.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd be doing public speaking, and I was in music, right? Because I thought that if I did music, then people might listen to me, people might see me, people might hear me, that kind of thing. But I wasn't actually speaking when it comes to singing, because you're on the stage and I have my little protective bubble. I have my microphone, I have my guitar, and I'm safe.
Yes.
But as soon as I'd have to speak in between the songs, I'd be like, good evening, everybody. And I would just mumble my words.
Yeah.
And I started to learn the memory and accelerated learning sort of stuff. And eventually I got my first TED Talk.
Wow.
That was essentially my first public speaking gig. And I was like, this is
And how did that
ridiculous.
happen? That's crazy. That's such a big thing.
I'm a pretty big believer in manifestation.
Yeah.
And this is a bit of a side note, I guess, on how it actually happened. I essentially woke up to a message from TEDx one day. It was like, hey, do you want to come do a talk?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was essentially my first talk. And I was nervous. I was scared. I hadn't really done much of this whole public speaking thing before. And I'm standing on stage. I'm looking at the audience, and there's about 50 to 100 people, I think it was. And I can see people's eyes lighting up, just seeing this. I'm here to have some information that can change my life. Mm-hmm. That's what everyone in the room is for.
I know. And it's such an empowering moment, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because you realise then that you can change something.
Absolutely. And for me to be on that stage and thinking, wow, if I am able to say something that can inspire other people, imagine if I could learn how to do this properly, and then I could teach people to do it properly. Wow. So then instead of just me trying to make a personal impact, I can teach other people to make a bigger impact. Yeah. And that ripple effect could actually make a bigger impact than I possibly could. Yeah. So I just started learning public speaking, and I was like, this is my journey. This is what I love doing.
And I think that's a lot to do with self-healing as well, isn't it? Because of, like you say, it's not always been that way. It's not only you overcoming something and teaching other people, but you're healing yourself at the same time.
100%.
Yeah.
My little inner child Josh would be super overwhelmed with it.
I know. I get it. But it's a huge part. And this is why, for me, on my journey, I've worked with you myself and you've helped me a lot as well. But I'd done some stuff before because I realised that my inner critic and my fears of public speaking, talking in front of people, like I couldn't even have a team meeting at one point, I wouldn't be on camera, I wouldn't do anything. But I understood that I had to overcome this fear if I wanted to sort of grow things more, this imposter syndrome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about, working with people and imposter syndrome, and obviously fear of camera work and overcoming that and how you work with people when it comes to that?
I actually love this topic because imposter syndrome for me, I think I have a different take than most people, right? A lot of people see it as like, I'm not good enough at something or I shouldn't be here. For me, I see it as if you don't have imposter syndrome, then you're not growing.
Yeah.
So I always, essentially in every area of my life, always looking to have imposter syndrome.
Yes.
When I first hopped onto stage, the first talk was TED, and I was like, I'm not supposed to be here. I went through imposter syndrome, right? And then I started learning to teach public speaking as well, and I didn't feel comfortable with it. And then I got better at it because I had the reps done. So whenever you start anything new, you will feel like an imposter because it is new to you. You're not in that environment normally. So your body, your brain, your entire everything is thinking, this isn't where I belong. But if I stick with it long enough, I will be where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So imposter syndrome is it's another word for growth.
Growth. I love that. And I think another thing I heard the other day, which was amazing, is like, it's because you don't know it. People, I can't do that, I'm scared. It's because you don't understand it and you don't know it and you've not learnt it. So it's another great way of looking at it, and with anything new, like you say, you should have it. So, welcome it rather than push it away. So I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how you work with clients. I bet they come to you through all different forms of wanting to learn and grow. Is it just people that want to talk on stage? Is it a confidence thing? Is it imposter syndrome? Do you see a real sort of collection of different people and different needs?
Absolutely. I think because speaking is in every area of your life, people come for different reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that they need to get over the fear is a lot of the time what people have the problem with speaking. And once you start, you realize it's actually not really that much of an issue.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, it's for getting rid of the fear of speaking.
Yeah.
And some people will come because they're doing hosting moderations or panels or something like that. Some will be doing Q&As. Some will be doing stage speaking, keynotes. Some people want to do stage selling as well.
Okay.
So depending on what stage of your speaking journey you're at, I cater for it. And some people do not need that much training. It's actually amazing to see how natural some people can be on stage. Other people need quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine. Like it's terrifying, isn't it? And I think a lot of it comes down to messaging, isn't it? Like I know when I worked with you, I knew my story, but you really helped me with how to frame my messaging and really going back about what I stood for and, what was it? What was my bigger picture, because we forget this, it's telling your story, isn't it, as well? So tell us a bit about messaging, how you get that from people,
I think when people are speaking, especially in speeches, they don't have a clear structure.
Yeah.
A clear point A to point B.
Yeah.
So like you've probably heard people tell
waffle
stories.
on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always the people that know the least that speak the most. But when it comes to messaging, it's really easy to really extract that message from people if you just have a clear structure and a clear way to do it. And many people, when they tell stories, when they speak, they don't have an A to B.
Yeah.
They go from A to C to H to X, and they might get to B
That's
eventually.
my brain, that is.
And for most people, though, as well. But once you have just a really clear, concise message, and it's very, very easy to actually extract, you just speak about one thing at a time.
No, for sure.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Just speak about one thing at a time and get little topics and subsections of that one thing, have points to back that up, have examples to back it up, and it clears your message up.
Definitely.
Just try not to speak about too many things at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I'm definitely guilty of.
Yeah. Like an hour long, 1 hour to 90-minute speech, you only really need to speak about 3 to 5 things.
Okay, that's good to know because I have a big stage presentation coming up. So rather than going through everything, that's a great tip.
I have a guy if you need help, it's fine. I know someone.
I may be coming to you. So let's talk a little bit about, obviously, when people are growing their personal brand. And obviously, when people think about growing their personal brand, it's Instagram, it's this, how important is it to learn how to, invest some time into public speaking when it is to grow your personal brand? Because it's not just about social media, is it? Personal branding, we know that. There's so many other areas to it, having, meetings and networking and stuff like that. So tell us more about the importance of it and how it can help people build their personal brand.
I find that the easiest way to build your personal brand is speaking. If you can do stage speaking as well, your credibility goes really, really high straight away. Whenever you see people do some sort of stage talk, you just look at them and you're like, yeah, you're an expert. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it instantly gives you that credibility factor.
Yeah, and that's huge.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge, absolutely. Think about when you hop on social media and you do the doom scrolling, and you see somebody that you recognize and they're speaking from a stage, like Gary Vee or something like that, or even yourself.
Yeah.
You scroll and you're like, oh wow, that is incredible. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it gives you that expert status without even needing to really be an expert.
Yeah.
Just by speaking on stage.
Yes.
And when you learn to do it for a camera, like I got to build a pretty big following on TikTok about a year and a half ago. It was about 800,000 people. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't know how to speak.
No, for sure.
At all.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to build a personal brand, as it does carry through every area of your life, as you mentioned, like networking as well. When you learn to speak, you learn to listen as well. People just seem to know you and trust you.
Yeah, I agree totally. Yeah. And it's, again, for me, the personal journey of growth had a lot to do with understanding public speaking, because again, even from networking, it grew my confidence to be able to talk about my message, not necessarily because for me, the imposter syndrome is people don't need to know about me, but okay, me talking, it's not about me personally, it's about my messaging. So, that was really, really helpful. And then understanding like styles of speaking, public speaking styles, because there's so many different ways of doing it, isn't it? People are so different. Their messaging is so different. So how do you extract that from people and understand what is their style of speaking?
I think like anything, you have to fail at something to understand what yours is, Yeah. When I first started singing, for example, I would try to copy John Mayer.
Yeah.
And I would sound as much like John Mayer, like the hard R's in my songs. And then eventually I got to my own personal style of singing.
Yeah.
The same comes to speaking. Copy and emulate speakers you really like.
Yeah.
If you just go on, type in Tony Robbins or Oprah or Gary Vee, whoever you really like.
Also different.
Also different.
Yeah.
And
but with all
copy
such
things.
strong messaging,
Also strong messages.
Yeah.
And copy their speeches. Copy actually word for word some of the things that they do. And eventually, just like a chef, you learn a recipe and then you go a little bit off the recipe and think, oh, I put that little bit of spice in. That tastes good.
Yeah.
You start to develop your own style of cooking, and that gives you the confidence when it works out.
Definitely.
So steal other people's stuff, and then it'll eventually turn into your own.
So a little bit on that. So say, for instance, something's not going right when you're speaking, technical issues, or you've completely forgotten what you're about to talk about, or all the lights have gone off. How do you deal in that situation when you're in front of somebody or, camera, or you've forgotten, how do you deal with that? What do you do?
You address the situation.
I know. I think this is the first thing. Like, some people just pretend it's not happening.
So if I can't see it, it's not there. No, address it. Be like, wow, that's not great. It's not working. Okay, just give us a few moments, y'all.
I know.
You can be playful with it. You can be a little bit humorous with it. It's like, oh, okay, my computer just broke. That's awesome. Okay. I've had presentations where the laptop just died. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the funniest one for me, again, back to my TED Talk.
Yeah.
My first talk, everything went wrong in the moment. We did the technical, the run through 4 or 5 hours before the actual talk. I start the talk, hop on stage, the light's on me, everything else is dark, the timer is moving, and the button doesn't work to change the slides. And I have a very heavy slide presentation for this one, right?
Yeah. Because I think when you start off, it's a guide, isn't it?
It is. It's a guide. It's visual cues. It helps you with where you are in the speech.
And you feel less pressure, I suppose, because they've also got something else to look at rather than just you.
Yeah. Which is why I don't use much of it anymore.
Yeah.
But, but I'm starting my talk and I'm pressing the button and it's not working. So now I'm standing there like a stunned, I don't know what the word is, mullets, I think in Australia is what we call it. And I'm just staying there and the timer's moved down. So now we're about 2 to 3 minutes down on the timer that I've practiced on. The slides aren't working. So every single time I start to try to change the slide, I do this, move my hand so that the person behind the laptop and projector upstairs, they know to change the slide.
Woo!
So that was my first, and I didn't know how to deal with this. I was like, this is going on forever. This is going to be the worst thing. And it was fine.
And it was fine.
It was fine.
I know, I think it's always worse in your head, isn't it?
Always.
I think for me, one of the biggest tips I learned that if you are feeling a bit vulnerable and a bit nervous and you are beginning, it's okay to show that vulnerability as well, isn't it?
Well.
People can relate to it more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people always say oh no, you'll lose credibility, respect. No, actually. If you hop on stage and say, hey, I'm actually really nervous about this. I'm
Yeah.
going to do my best. So if I do mess up, just take it easy on me. That'd be great. Thank you.
No, and I
People
think that was,
respect
it's almost like people have warmed to you straight away.
Straight away.
Yeah.
Because it takes the guard down. They see you as a
Yeah.
human having an experience.
Absolutely.
Rather than having to be perfect or something.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing as well, that it was always the fear of judgment of what other people think. But I think as soon as people see that vulnerability, and 9 times out of 10, these people wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, do you know what, actually, what I perceived of that person is not what I'm thinking now straight away. So, there's a bit of a softer side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what inspires you to be better? You teach other people to be better and grow confidence. Like, what does it look like in terms of how you look after yourself, like sort of like mentally keep yourself on track, and who inspires you? Because we obviously know that to be better, we have to continue to keep growing, don't we? To be able to give more. So how does that look for you?
I try to imagine my future self.
Yeah.
So whenever I go to bed, I'll imagine essentially my future self showing up at my door. The version of me that I could be.
Wow.
And, he takes me to the car, we go for a drive, we go to a stage, or we speak, or we have this community. And I start looking at that version of myself, and if I don't live up to that, then that'll never happen.
Wow.
So I do that pretty much every night when I go to sleep.
I love that.
I try to keep mentors. So I have a mentor for leadership at the moment.
Okay,
and, that's been a 6-month mastermind, and, I look up to that. I look up to the people in it. Just try to be around people doing the things you want to do.
Yeah,
I think and that inspiration will naturally just trickle down.
Absolutely. Like, we are a product of our environment, aren't
100%.
we? And I think, again, when I slip into these sort of moments where I'm not feeling motivated and I'm feeling exhausted, it's normally because it's the product of my environment. I've placed myself somewhere that I'm not meant to be. And I think as soon as then, you surround yourself with the right people and everything, then, you start to feel motivated again, don't
100%.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, just be around people that are doing the things you want to do.
Yeah. So that's great. You're doing like a leadership course at the moment. And that's obviously, again, we think when we have, obviously our job, you teach people how to, be public, be great at public speaking. But the leadership side of things, is huge, isn't it? It's self-leadership, being leaders for others. What have you learned from that side of things, the leadership side?
So much, but it all comes down to who you are and who you're being. So the version of the leader that you want to be exists already. You just have to step into it.
Wow.
For me, it's not necessarily as much about the companies that I've worked for. It's more about the personal side of who you're committed to being.
Yeah.
So in this, we have a few different elements we work on. There's awareness, there's consciousness, there's context, communication, commitment, and trust. And a lot of it just starts with you and your own mental self-talk.
Yeah.
Because if you want to lead people, you need to be the kind of person they want to follow. Otherwise, you're just a boss.
Absolutely.
So it all starts with you.
Yeah.
Which is not what I expected from the leadership side.
No.
I expected tools, tricks, and, actual mechanics.
Absolutely.
But a lot of it is the mental strategy. And we call it the soul of business.
And it's probably one of the hardest things, isn't
One of
it?
the hardest things.
Because you've got to go deep inside.
You can tell if you want to follow somebody as well, right?
Yeah.
If someone hops on stage, they're super nervous and they're speaking and their hands are, trembling and their voice is really weak. You're not really wanting to follow that person into battle.
Yeah. No, yeah.
It is what it is, right?
Absolutely.
If someone who hops on there, they're composed, they're very clear, they speak passionately. That's the kind of person I want to follow.
Yeah. And it's that, I think one thing I've learned about leadership is it's always looking deep in, and that reflection.
100%.
You have to reflect. And I think somebody that can do that is the first side of leadership, because so many people won't reflect, will they? They don't know how to reflect. But it's how can I be better? What can I have done better?
There's so much in just acceptance of who you are at a certain point in time.
Yeah, and I think so many people fight that, don't they? Like I'm in and out of it all the time with myself, so I get it.
Oh, we all do. We all do.
No, I'm okay. No, you're not. So finally, I would like to end on now, for people listening, top tips on how you start to make money and monetize public speaking, if it's a career that people want to go into, or, online or anything like that. What is your top tips for how to start making money from this?
Well, like anything, get a coach, get a mentor,
Yeah.
get somebody that can help you that's doing the thing you want to be doing, for
Yep.
starters. There are different ways to monetize speaking. You can be the kind of person who does enrolling speaking, so where you sell from stage.
Yep.
And there are scripts and frameworks that you can learn to be able to do that. I've been able to close multi-five figures from stage in under an hour. I've had other clients do over $10,000 in under an hour
Yeah.
just from doing that.
Wow.
You can become a keynote speaker and get paid. So a lot of the time it'll be about $5,000 to $10,000 for a
Wow.
keynote, something like that.
Okay.
Some people charge a lot more, some people charge a lot less, but
Yeah.
that's generally the amount you can do.
Yeah.
We do things called UGC, which is user-generated content,
Okay.
where brands will pay creators that have like a small following to do the videos for their brand.
Oh, yeah,
So
of
you can
course.
charge out a lot of money for that as well.
Yeah.
You can do presentations or presenting, and hosting, emceeing, that kind of thing. They
Yeah, and
actually
there's a
pay very
lot
well
of
as
those
well.
events
There's
here
a
as well
lot.
in Dubai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are doing 2 to 3 a week and they're getting paid about 15 to 20,000 dirham every single time.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it's a
not
lot.
bad.
Yeah.
Nice $30K a month sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just
And that's
for-
great for personal branding, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are a few. What else have we got with speaking? Well, obviously you can be a talk show host as well. Or you can do news and that sort of thing. It really depends on
Yeah.
the avenue you want to go down. Some people just want
Definitely.
to use it to gain their confidence and
Yeah.
didn't even know you can get paid from speaking. I didn't when I started.
No.
No, I
Just
didn't even
for
think about it.
confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was confidence. It was that personal journey of growth. But yeah, you can turn it into an entire business if you want to. It just depends on what you want to use it for.
Yeah. So, lastly, one more thing. So, top tips. What would you say? So, somebody that's like, I would say, a message for sort of somebody that like me before, where I was hiding behind a lot of the business and scared of inner critic and all of that imposter syndrome. Like, for anybody that's listening, what is your top tip? Where to get started? What to do? What would that be?
Thinking about speaking won't get you better at speaking. Taking notes about speaking won't get you better at speaking. The only thing to help you get better at speaking is to do the speaking. And now, because everything is personal branding, right? If you think about Gary Vee, I don't even know his media company, VaynerMedia or something.
VaynerMedia,
right?
yeah. I'm just listening to one of
Yeah.
his books at the moment.
Yeah, they're great, but everyone
Yeah.
now is a personal brand. Personal brands are bigger than the brands itself.
Absolutely.
So get out. It's a time to shine, essentially. Just
Yeah.
hop out and do it.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You're never going to get better until you try.
Yeah. And I saw you just absolutely crush it when it comes to speaking. Since when you started and then just hopping online and doing it, it's made your personal brand pretty big as well, right?
Absolutely.
Which is obviously helps trickle down to the business as
Yeah.
well,
And I think even, it makes, because people believe in you, they trust you. They want to come to the
Yeah.
salon more. They want to invest in education more because they see it's not just the business then.
Yeah, you're a human.
I am a human. We all are. Sometimes.
Not all of us, but
Not
yeah.
all of us. But I want to thank you so much. I know this will be so helpful for so many people. And I know that you're going to be doing some masterclasses in the academy also for people getting started. So we're really, really excited for that. So thank you very much, Josh.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks.